Hello everyone. We are right on time for this evening's webinar, so we might get started. I hope you're all doing well this evening. Firstly, I just wanted to make sure that everyone can hear me okay. Just do the obligatory sound check. Make sure that I'm coming through hopefully loud and clear to everyone. So if you are able to just give me an indication if you can hear me okay and if the sound's okay, just by typing a comment, a yes, a hello in the chat box, that'd be great. I just might wait a few moments as people are joining. I can see Irene's here. Hi Samantha, she can hear, that's great, thanks Irene. Kate, hi Kate, how are you? And all clear from John, that's great. Who else? Yes, from VJ. Oh, yes, from Katrina. That's great. Hi from Simon and hi Alex. Great. Awesome. So we've got a few just trickling in just right on start time. So I might just get started on tonight's topic of dynamic strategies to fast track your business journey. Oh, hi Suzanne. Great. Great to see that you're able to join, and I wasn't sure if you're able to. That's awesome. So my name's Samantha, and this evening we're going to be going through the webinar over the next hour, and there'll be some insights and tips to share with you today. And I'm aware that you've allocated an hour out of your day to participate, so that being the case, I want to make sure that it is effective for you and everyone here on the webinar as possible. And so it'd be great that just going along, if you do have any questions or comments that you want to make, please pop them in the chat box. I can see I've had just quite a few comments come through just in response to me checking the sound, which is great. So I can see that we're all sort of ready and raring and ready to contribute, which is awesome. So just during the hour that we do have together, we are going to be exploring a topic that's pretty critical for those already in business and those that are just starting out. And it's about exploring the things you need to consider if you want to move more quickly. So that's why I've said, be more dynamic and get the results that you want in setting up and growing your business. And for those thinking of starting out, sometimes taking that first step is hard. It might be confidence, it might be fear, or just not being 100% across what the right steps are that might be actually holding you back and sort of be hindering your ability to move quickly. And for those that already are in business, it could be issues with mindset or clarity, or just generally finding the time to devote to speeding up the progression that you want to make to the next phase in your business. But no matter where you are on your journey, it is possible to find ways to get from where you are today to where you want to go much faster. And of course, in this day and age, who doesn't want to be looking for ways to move quickly? There's always so much change going on around us, and we really need to be proactive and agile so that we can keep up and also be moving at a faster pace than our competitors. So together we're going to go through a few strategies to move quickly so we can really reach our business goals sooner. And some of the strategies that we'll go through tonight are things you can definitely start straight away. And they're tips that can really help you to explore ways to really reduce the time you spend working in your business and increase your profitability potential. And I will do my best to just share as much as I can in the hour, and at the end I can let you know exactly how we can just keep the conversation going so that you can apply some of these strategies ASAP. So I hope that all sounds good, and I hope the people that joined a little bit late kind of got the gist of the intro, because I got a lot to go through, so I just really want to get straight into the content. First things first, just wanted to share a bit of insight into who I am. I know for some of you on the webinar tonight, you've probably heard my intro before. I do try to mix it up every time. I had a little bit extra in there so you get a little bit more insight. I think it's important just to take you through, I guess, a few moments in my career, because it does sort of relate to why I talk about the topics like I do tonight, and some of the other topics and things that I share in various forums and events. So I call myself a corporate escapee. I spent quite a few years climbing the corporate ladder and thinking that I was going to be doing that, for my entire life, my entire career. That was certainly a dream that I did have early on. I went through, however, a phase in my life where I became quite bored and demotivated, and this boredom and demotivation lingered for quite a long time. Effectively, I lost my drive, and I could sense that something was missing, but I couldn't really quite put my finger on what it was. And I knew there was a problem when I really not only dreaded Monday mornings going to work, I pretty much dreaded every day from the Monday to Friday, and had this realization that something needed to change to get rid of this feeling that I was having. I tried changing jobs. I tried, doing a few different things work-wise to see if it could kind of get me out of the spell that I was in, but it wasn't really working. So I realized I needed, I guess, an even bigger change than what I first thought. And I did consider that sort of putting, life generally in perspective, that that probably the answer was ditching the corporate life and taking on a new challenge, and maybe something that I hadn't really experienced before. And I considered the type of work that I was doing and how maybe I could actually fit that work into doing something in my own space, so whether that was being self-employed or developing a business. And so doing some training, consulting, coaching was my real passion, and it's where I sort of set up a business in helping other organizations through my training and consulting to help them manage through change and be more creative, and that was through a business called the Innovation Agents, and also set up a coaching practice called Ditch the Ladder. So hence some of the pictures on the slide, just representative of journey I started to take. Probably just quickly want to point out that it wasn't all smooth sailing in the journey that I was on since I left the corporate environment. I did go into business with a business partner, and we lasted about 6 months. It didn't turn out, and we had a few, they both really had quite a few lessons learnt from that, definitely in terms of our marketing, in terms of our vision and where we were going, and where both our heads were at in terms of what we thought success was and where we really wanted to go. So I guess out of that process of the business not working out with the business partner and a lot of the other learnings and things I had along the way, I decided to write a book just to help others who were thinking of going on a similar journey, whether they hadn't started the process or were in the startup phase and were thinking of wanting to be their own boss and work for themselves, and really having a focus in the book on some of those lessons learnt, and some of the expectations that to-be business owners need to be aware of. So hence, yeah, my book is called Ditch the Ladder. Just to wrap up, I do enjoy writing and obviously just educating and helping others set up businesses and be in business. So I'm lucky enough to be featured in a few different publications, and also just there are a few consulting organisations that I've been able to partner with as well. So moving on to the content. Anyone who's been through any of my webinars before knows that I like to talk a bit about statistics first. I think it's generally important in a lot of things, especially in the small business space, because there are so many statistics out there. Some of them not so great. But the one I've got for tonight's webinar is just the amount of time it takes, particularly in Australia, for to be entrepreneurs or to be business owners to get started in their business. So they might have an idea, but it takes quite a while to actually overcome the fear and go, yes, I'm going to do this now. And some of the fears that were referred to in this particular study that I've referred to on this slide, those fears are around concerns about money, fear of leaving a secure job, fear of failure, and also having a perceived lack of expertise. And when I read that, and probably when I relay that back to you, it does, it can make sense in quite a few ways. The practicalities and the steps and procedures around setting up and running a business, it all kind of sounds simple when you Google it and find out what you need to do. But what's sometimes, well, actually a lot of the times harder is, the stuff that you don't know. And I do often say to clients and potential clients, you don't know what you don't know. And that information and insights can, put you in a better position to really address the concerns that you might have. So really seeking out that information and absorbing as much as you can and learning and getting as much information can really help give you a bit more reassurance and confidence. And when you have that knowledge about the journey ahead and what might be involved, it's much easier to put a plan into action and really follow that desire you have to leave corporate and do your own thing. Just to give a bit of context around the core part of this webinar's messaging, I have 3 tips that we're going to work through together. And so each of the 3 tips has a little bit of a theme, which I'll just explain what it's about and how it fits in. Just before I do move on, I know we just had a few people join late. If you don't mind just indicating if you can hear me okay, or if there's any comments that anyone wants to make on anything we've just covered in the intro, please by all means put it in the chat box. I might just move on then to the first tip, and I've called this enablers. Excuse me, I've got a little bit of a frog in my throat at the moment. Yeah, I've called it enablers, and so essentially the message here is having what I call enablers, which I'll explain in a moment. Having enablers in place can help, to save money through making sure that you plan and build your business foundations first, and that you don't spend money on things you don't need, and by having a disciplined approach to managing your finances. So in a little bit more detail, Having your foundations in place first is what I define as having what I've got on the screen there, your why, your values and your visions reasonably clear. And the reason why I say that that's important, if you don't have foundations clear first, you might end up going down the wrong path, then you waste time, then you waste money, you have to start again. So it's similar in a way to, you know, just building a house and having the whole building analogy that, you know, without having the right foundations in place first, you know, the house doesn't get built properly. And having the right foundations, you know, for setting up a business sets you up for success, sets you up for longevity. And having those foundations also just really helps you to clarify, you know, what your objectives are, what your purpose is, and what your direction is. And so first and foremost, part of that foundation is really thinking about your why and asking yourself the question, why? So why are you wanting to leave your job to become self-employed or set up a business? You know, why are you wanting to pursue something else? Why are you wanting to make a career change? What's your purpose? Where are you now and where do you want to be? To what extent are things like wealth, health, family important? And ultimately, you know, what are the things that will make you happy? And it's a question that has an answer which will be different for everyone. And even for yourself, it might change over time, over the course of your life. So it's not like there's any wrong or right answer. And yes, it sounds a little bit deep, but it is important as a consideration in terms of what you want to do from a business perspective, because whatever you choose to do from a business perspective will have some impact you know, on your life as well. There will be interaction between your life and what you do from a career perspective. And I talk about having values articulated as well. Again, very similar to your why. It's not something that's may always be easy to define. It might change over time. But again, it's just having that understanding for yourself. Well, what you know, what are your beliefs and what really matters to you? And you know, both your why and your values can kind of essentially be considered together. They have that similarity. But it is really an essential consideration, and I say that from personal experience too, because it wasn't an exercise that I did when I first started out. And it was only after the business failure with the business partner that I then realised I had to go through this process of really asking myself these questions to help me sort out how I was going to establish myself going forward. So the other component then is, you know, the vision that you have for what it is that you want to do and achieve in your business. And I point this out as something that's essential to consider, because one of the one of the biggest gripes that I hear from other business owners is that, you know, when they've developed their business and started out, you know, they ended up spending money on things that they didn't need, looking back in hindsight. And if I ask, you know, why that's happened, they've turned around and said, well, they kind of just weren't really sure where they were heading, and they were kind of living in the short term, making decisions just sort of ad hoc on day to day, and those decisions weren't necessarily aligned to their future goals. So really having that clarity and that vision is then really an essential consideration, because what you're strategically planning for yourself in the future will then have an impact on what you're doing, you know, at this point in time, in the present, you know, day to day. So that whole concept of really starting with the end in mind is a a strategic move, but it's also a sensible one, and it's really having that clear picture of where you want to be in the future, where you want your business to be, and how you imagine it that it will be, in a year's time, 3 years' time, 5 years' time, 10 years' time, etc. The thing that really sticks in my memory was something I came across doing a Google search one day when I was looking at organisation vision statements to see what types of statements the bigger organisations had, and I stumbled across Microsoft's original vision statement, which was quite interesting. And their original vision statement was that there will be a personal computer on every desk running Microsoft software. So this was when they first started out. So when you consider quite a little while ago, if anyone had mentioned a comment like that, it probably would have been laughed at. But if you consider, they obviously pursued with that vision, and it really drove them to sort of push for that ambition of achieving that vision, which is obviously evident that they have. So it goes to show that having a powerful and a powerful vision statement that's really worth striving for is really important and really critical, and having that as a foundation step in building your business. The other component of enablers that I wanted to mention is the concept of money and having discipline around managing money, managing cash flow, managing profit, etc. Now we all know it's no secret really if I sit here and say that you need to be mindful of money, you need to be mindful of cash flow. But it is something that some business owners, do mismanage. They don't always necessarily understand, or there is sometimes a lack of discipline in really managing the money coming in and the money going out. The whole concept of having a budget and even some cash resources to start a business is vital. Sometimes you'll hear the miracle stories or read the miracle stories on Google where, some entrepreneur had $2 in their pocket and 3 months later they were making, 7 figures. Doable for some, but highly unlikely for most of us. Which is why I always say to clients, to have at least about 6 months worth of business and living expenses stashed up when you first start out. This then gives you some breathing space and reassurance that all the important things can get paid while you're busy setting up a business. So it's not just the setup that it's important, it's an ongoing task to really spend time understanding numbers. Money coming in, money going out, budgets, forecasts, having a good relationship with your accountant or bookkeeper, all that stuff's really important, and it is easy for it to be put on the back burner. Busy setting up business, busy going and getting clients, busy doing sales and marketing, don't have time for the finances, and that can be a huge mistake. Because ultimately, you can only have so much reliance on your accountant. At the end of the day, it's your business. Excuse the pun, but the buck stops with you. And really understanding cash flow, profit, and even the difference between profit and cash flow is really vital. Some of those signs and signals and things in the numbers that tell you how you are progressing, really need to be on top of. We might just do a quick pause there. I've just gone through the first tip. I'm interested if anyone's got any questions while we just have a bit of a think, have a bit of a reflection time just based on what we've gone through so far. And I'll give you a little bit of time to think about any questions. I'm just going to have a quick sip of water. And if there aren't any questions, we'll move on to the next slide. John said, yeah, some key things to think about. Yeah, I totally agree, John, that there are some key things to actually be considering. I probably would also add that it's not just about not just thinking about it, but it's also doing as well. Yeah, fundamental things to, yes, be aware of, but to also do. Any other comments or questions? Sarah says all agree. Cool, thank you, Sarah. Cool, well, we might move on. If you do think of anything, just feel free to type them as we go along, and I'll try and get to them each time we cover off each of the tips as we go. We'll move on to the next tip, which I've put under the heading of execution. So having the right execution strategy or strategies in place can really help save you time when you're starting out through using your available resources, streamlining your tasks and activities, and being clever around how you increase your customer base and look after your customers. Effective processes. One of the things, I guess, and I know we're just talking about finances just in the last tip, which is kind of, you know, the back end, the stuff that's probably not as exciting. Similarly, having some processes in place and making sure that you've got effective processes in place, not as exciting, however, also something that's fundamental when starting out, just to spend the time, just to be clear on what your tasks and processes are in all the things that you're doing to create your business, and having those documented. And I'll talk about why that's important in a moment. So where I say systemize, it's really understanding from the moment you start out and start building your business that you really start to capture and document tasks, processes, and activities that you need to do, and doing that in a way where you have a written document, a spreadsheet, a checklist, a process flow, whatever it might be, that just details some of the key activities that you need to do to run your business. Because some of those key activities, you know, could be things like, yes, running a marketing promotion or something, but it could also be how you invoice a customer, it could be how you recruit staff. It's anything that you need to do to make your business function. And the idea of getting on top of creating this documentation or creating these systems is getting the information and knowledge out of your head, and getting it you know, down on paper or in a piece of software or something that's going to capture that information. And the reason why this is important and can add value to your business is that the value then sits in your business itself, as opposed to, you know, in your head as a business owner. And so if you were, for example, you just say you opened an ice cream shop and you've documented all the processes of how the ice cream is made, how you sell to your customers, how you've got everything documented in terms of how you run that business, and then you decide you want to open up another ice cream shop a few suburbs away. If you've got those detailed systems in place, it'll make it so much easier where you can just replicate the processes and create effectively the same business, but just in a different suburb. So ultimately, too, down the line, if you wanted to then sell your business, the fact that you've got all your processes documented, you've got things systemized, would also make it very easy as well to sell the business. So it's one thing that a lot of business owners, when starting out, don't. Again, it's the bottom of the list. It's not as important, but it's easier to do it, as you're starting out. Because when you get a couple of years down the track, and you go, okay, well, I want to get my business in a position so I can sell it one day. Oh, I've got to go and systemize everything. It's going to be harder even then to actually find time to do it. The other real benefit to then systemizing the things you do, which makes it easier then to delegate, whether that's delegating to staff, whether it's delegating to a personal assistant or a virtual assistant or a web designer or a marketing guru or a bookkeeper. Ultimately you might get to a point where you want to get others to help you within your business, and if you've got your processes documented and systemized, it's much easier to then to delegate. In the same way, you can also effectively delegate to technology. You get an app, or you get a download or a program that can do some of the tasks that you do and automate. Also is another reason for actually having the detail of how your processes work, so then you can then go and automate. I've used and I still do a virtual assistant to help me when I'm running events, when I'm running networking groups, and for doing things like marketing. Big lesson that I learned was actually having to go through and really document the processes clearly and systemize them so that I could hand them over to the virtual assistant, and they could actually then easily take it on without me having to be too involved or too involved to. They could actually then just do the work on their own with minimal supervision from me. The other key thing that I have from an execution perspective, which can ultimately help save time in your business, is really having a focus on your customers. Again, also a critical thing to be considering being on top of when you start out in business. It's not something that you shouldn't have a focus on and worry about all of a sudden when you start making sales. It should be something at the forefront of your mind of how are you going to focus on your customers, how are you going to engage them, and how are you going to use them so that you can actually generate more of a return from them. I like to think and often say to people that your customers are effectively your biggest assets, because your existing ones can bring you more, and they can also provide an ongoing return. And these days, with so much going on with social media and everything becoming digital and faster and bigger and more value add, people or customers just really want more from us. So if you think of yourself as a customer in your day-to-day, you probably expect more. You expect to be listened to. You expect to be respected. And you expect loyalty as well. So having that whole put yourself in the shoes of a customer thought process really helps when you're starting up a business to go, okay, well, how am I going to focus on my customers and give them experience. And while I could probably talk for hours and hours about being customer focused and providing customer experience, because it's something I'm quite passionate about. But just for this evening's webinar, I've just picked out a few strategies which I think are things that are easy to do, especially when you are starting out and there's a lot of stuff going on and a lot of stuff to be across in your business. And the first one is just really having consistency across everything you do. An example of this when I talk about consistency is, and I've actually sort of seen it in being a customer, is where you go on and you look at someone's website and the website looks perfect, or it's amazing. So you think, oh, I've got to go, into this person's shop, or I've got to go meet this person and find out a bit more. But when you then have that subsequent experience, it doesn't quite match, the first experience. So there's that inconsistency in the experience that you're getting as a customer. So it's making sure across everything you do and every touch point, when you're putting messages and components about your business out there, that it has a consistent message. Just generally making it easy to do business. It's so easy for us today online, whether it's a website, whether it's LinkedIn, whether it's a Facebook page. We can have that information set up effectively. So if someone was wanting to seek us out and find information about us or our business, it's easy to find. And so if we have that information there for them, and we make it an easy process for them, then they're probably more likely to then want to continue, that investigation about us, rather than go shop elsewhere. And also vital and extremely important to do the listening. I don't know if there's anyone on the webinar tonight that's has sales experience or a sales background would know, one of the most important things about selling is that you're not talking, you're listening. So just on that similar theme, when we're talking about customers and we're talking about the selling process, it's actually firstly finding out what our customers want. It's asking them the questions. It's understanding, what are they willing to pay for, and just really, treating people as humans, treating people the way we want to be treated. I came across an interesting quote the other day. No one cares how much you know until they know how much you care, which was by Theodore Roosevelt, which I think sort of really sums up that whole building that relationship with the customer, and the things that we've just chatted about, having consistency, making it easy, and actually listening and treating them like a human being. Ultimately, out of all this, and why I've really harped on about the whole customer focus thing, is that you treat your customers well, and they can ultimately save you time and money attached to marketing activities by giving you referrals. So hence why starting out early and really building those customer relationships can really help in the development of your business. We might do just a quick stop there before I move on to the third tip. Again, if anyone does have any questions or comments, I would love to see them in the chat box. Melissa, thank you for the comment. Melissa has said, yes, so true to treat your customers well because the word spreads. Yes, fully agree. And I did actually mean to make that comment as well, Melissa. So thank you for reminding me and adding that in. Definitely true, and even when it comes to spreading messages, good or bad, about you. So much bigger and broader reach these days with social media, and and we all are as customers. We depend a lot on testimonials and feedback when we're making our own purchasing decisions. So definitely being aware of how easy the word spreads when we provide a good service or when we provide a bad service. So thanks for that, Melissa. No other comments. Just a quick look at the time, so I might just move on to the third tip, but do by all means add any questions or comments in if you do think of anything as we go through this last tip. So the third tip that I wanted to talk about is what I've called elevation, and having the right elevation strategy can help you make money by increasing your net worth through your network and also having a winning mindset. So your network is your net worth, and it is a really important consideration when you are starting out. If you look at any successful person in business, they have a good network of people around them because they are aware that they can't do absolutely everything on their own. And it's also not just a network of potential clients, it's also having some advisors, mentors, strategic partners, people that could potentially be employees, a whole raft of people that could be part of your network and add value to you, and also where you could add value to them. I've indicated on the slide a few advantages. I mean, and this is only a few. There's a whole lot more that having a great network and a wide network of people what can do for you in business. So the first one, being accountable or helping holding you accountable. Particularly important coming from the corporate world and starting up your own gig. A lot of people do tend to start out on their own. That might be working at home in the spare room, and you don't have a boss overlooking your shoulder anymore. So having some people in your network that can hold you accountable, keep you on track, making sure you're doing what you're supposed to be doing or what you said you would be doing, is really critical and vital to making sure that you're taking the right steps and you're taking action every day. Motivation. I mean, it's a fact of life in anything we do. We're going to have dips in motivation from day to day, and particularly when you're starting out something that is quite a bit of a change to something you might be used to. There'll be bumps in the road, there'll be mistakes that you'll make. So having someone or others in your network that can be there for you and help reignite your enthusiasm when you need be is a really good thing to have. And clarity is also important as well. It comes back to the comment of we don't know everything. There's things that we need to learn. There's things that we need to rely on others to help us with. And sometimes having people that can help clarify where you're at if you're stuck on something is really critical. In the same way, having people in your network that have expertise. I know when I first started out, I know that sales and marketing wasn't my strong point. So from an expertise perspective, when I was growing my network and looking for assistance in my network, I was always seeking out people with that level of expertise, and also looking at ways that I could actually provide value that I had back to them. And of course, feedback. It's always great to have feedback on how we're going, how we're progressing, getting any, tough love along the way if we need a bit of a push, if we're doing something that's not quite in the right direction. But having a sounding board is always important. And the other component to elevation is having what I call a winning mindset. And when I talk about a winning mindset, it's really having a determination to thrive in what you do as opposed to just survive and just get by. And there's a few elements to really sort of having that mindset. And, firstly, it's about recognizing your progress you've had to date, and acknowledging what you've achieved, celebrating the things that you have accomplished, because it's a good way to stay positive and focused and look to the future. And looking to the future is all about looking at, okay, well, what's the prize that I'm striving for? How are my thoughts and my feelings and emotions going? Am I okay? Am I on track? And where I've got my key goals in mind, how am I going about achieving them? Am I being effective? Am I being effective in the way that I'm making my decisions and really striving for what it is that I want to achieve? And also just recognizing our own behaviors as well. So, talking about mindset, also a little bit of a behavior thing too, that we're being forward-thinking, we're being proactive, we're being results-focused, and taking just responsibility for the decisions that we make, and that we're not getting too caught up worrying about what others think about us and worrying about what others are doing, because that kind of stuff will just start to slow us down and take our focus away from where we want to be going and achieving our goals and working towards our vision, our longer term vision. The other component to, I guess, an elevation strategy is, that approach of really taking action and taking action now. Why, put it off? If you are considering setting up a business and leaving the comforts of the corporate regime, there will always be other things happening in life. So making a decision to start rather than making excuses will always be your better option to take. We've got a little bit of time for any more questions or comments just on that last component, the elevation strategies, as I like to call it. So if anyone has any questions or comments, please type them in the chat box. Okay. No questions or comments on that component. So, yes, I'm just looking at the clock. That it is probably about time just to do a bit of a wrap up. If you did want to find out more about a bit more about what we've spoken about and gone through tonight, and understand other components of what you need to be aware of when starting a business, I am running a workshop on the 22nd of April, which is a half-day session which goes into a little bit more detail, not only the components that we've covered tonight, but some other essential considerations to be aware of as well. So it's a fun, interactive workshop. It is on a Saturday, but obviously being mindful that most people probably are working Mondays to Fridays 9 to 5. But we get it over and done with early, so then you've got the rest of the weekend to make the most of your time off, and I do have it located down at Central, so it's easy from a transport perspective. And there is a special offer that I do have this evening for those of you all on the webinar tonight. It's normally $47, but for attendees this evening, it's $30. I will just put the, if anyone is interested, I'll just put the link to Eventbrite in the chat box. Just bear with me. If anyone has any particular questions on the course, just let me know. Just send that now. That's just gone out. John has asked, sounds good but can't do April. When's the next one? I'm glad you asked, John. Yeah, it is actually a few months off before I do the next one, and the reason for that is just due to holidays. So it won't be till early July. At this stage, I've got the 8th of July scheduled. I usually do run them monthly, but unfortunately, I just have to fit in some holidays. So, yeah, so it will be a while before the next one. So, if you are able to make it to April, it'd be great to see you then. Otherwise, the next one will be July. Just thought I'd put my contact details up as well, because I'd really love to, for anyone on the webinar tonight that I haven't had a chance to connect with via social media, it would be really great to do so we can keep in contact. I have, there's quite a bit of detail up there. I just thought I would point out, I have a link to a Facebook group called Corporate Professionals Seeking Entrepreneurship. Just wanted to, just mention that, because I do get I get asked quite a lot that to join that group, we don't need to be personal friends. You just need to search for Corporate Professionals Seeking Entrepreneurship, and then you'll find the group, and then you just press the request to join button, which will come through to me, and then I can accept it. So a few people get confused because they think that we need to actually be friends on Facebook first, so I just wanted to clarify that that's actually not the case. But that in that group, we share a lot of tools and resources, insights, information about starting out, setting up a business. So it gives you a few insights and things to be aware of. There is also a Facebook page I have called Ditch the Ladder, which also has a similar purpose. So I'd love if you have the time to join those groups, link up with those groups and that page, because it'd be awesome to also stay in contact that way. And we do have a little bit of time for any more questions if anyone does have any other questions or comments on anything that we've covered during tonight's webinar. And I'll give you all a bit of time to think about that while I just quickly run through just a bit of a summary of what we went through this evening in terms of the 3 key tips that we covered. So really fast tracking and being dynamic, whether it's setting up your business or growing your business, is really about having your enablers in place, so your why, your vision, your values, and really having that discipline over your money. It's also about having an execution strategy that includes setting up those effective processes and really having a strategy that focuses on your customers and building your customer base. And it's also about being having an elevation, what I call an elevation approach, which involves expanding your network and really having a winning mindset. Just put my contact details back up. And, oh, I just do have a comment from Paul. Paul's written, like, he's interested in the workshop. That's great. Thanks, Paul. I look forward to seeing you there. Any more questions or comments? We might then just quickly do the wrap up then. So just, yeah, in closing out and just highlighting some of this evening's key messages, you know, my question to all of you on the webinar is, you know, what could you be doing in your business or in the setup of your business, you know, to get it started, to get it moving and to get it growing at a really good pace. If you don't move quickly, how will you compete and how will you rise above the competition? Because what you really want to be doing in business when you're starting out, and also as you continue the journey, is feeling comfortable, feeling confident, and and knowing that you're doing the things, the key things to really thrive in business and be successful. Okay, so no more questions. So just wanted to close out by saying that it's been a real pleasure sharing my insights with you during this webinar. Thanks for your attendance. There will be a recording that will go out over the next couple of days, which will also give you a chance to provide any feedback. I've just noticed now, just on the chat box, all the thank yous coming through, the thank yous and goodbyes. Thanks, guys. Yeah, last but not least, just wanted to say enjoy the rest of the week, and I look forward to catching up again soon. Good night.